Start recording. It's just like, I'm like, all right.
That's not what I was thinking of, but that's also funny. See, a huffing and a puffing and a...
I don't know if you know what a freight train sounds like. If you think a freight train sounds like...
This is jackhammer dildo.
Just like, here's some random facts about dinos, in case you were wondering. Yes, I do. All right. Clink, clank, clink.
Clinkety clink, 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 clink,
Cling!
clink.
Hello and welcome to Strange Happy Hour. I am one of your hosts, Brent the Jesterhead Metcalf. Along to my left,
The dispatcher, Mark Plover.
throwing him off on the right.
John Pettit, handsome John.
And of course, we are here each and every week to discuss with you the very cool tech news and very nerdy video game news that comes out. Of course, we do not have enough time to talk about everything. This show would be hours upon hours long, and you guys already don't like it because it's an hour long. We don't have time to discuss the fact that Naughty Dog is condemning online harassment to the people involved with our Last of Us Part 2. Stop it, you fucking trolls. We don't have time to discuss the fact that Xbox Summer Game Fest will give players over 60 game demos to try, and we definitely do not have time to talk about the fact that My Name is Pedro TV show is coming from the creator of John Wick. However, we do have time to discuss what we do like to call on this show each and every week. The three of us come together from our quarantine bunkers, not a baby bunker, very different, separated amongst ourselves, but still discussed openly on this very show.
The important shit.
The important shit. There we go. So I'm glad John broke the silence because I didn't know where to go there.
I didn't know where we were going. I was like, we're going on a trip.
Sometimes I just ramble and I have to tie it back together and I don't know how. All right. I think we should discuss with us first the tech news of the week. Dispatcher, talk to us about Windows getting rid of control panel.
Oh, this hurts me. This hurts me so much. I don't think you understand. Like Microsoft's making probably the biggest mistake that they could be making at this point.
Really?
Wow. From a settings perspective inside. Okay. In controlling what happens inside Windows. I want to note the control panel has been around since I think like Windows 98, if not earlier.
Yeah.
It's been refined far over. Maybe 95. Even better. It's been 25 years. 25 years they've had to refine this thing so that it has access to everything that you could possibly need. The applications, even if it's not the control panel itself, the other applications that control like the different systems, or start and stop services, or view metrics or performance statistics, whatever about the system, and they're wanting to just chunk it.
It's actually had a 35-year run. Apparently, they've been using it since 1985.
Even better.
All I'm saying is my window here doesn't have a control panel, and it operates just fine. Okay?
Get it. Leave. Leave. Now, my thing is that the current settings screen that you get with Windows 10 just isn't as usable by any means for what you need anyway. Like the network connections anyway, and managing those through settings, that's nearly impossible. Like the network and sharing center was the last big change I think that they made, and that came in Windows 7 or Windows Vista. And that just sort of gave access to other things, or made networking a little bit more modern. But it was a change to the control panel. It wasn't a complete redirect of how they manage the settings for that kind of thing. My problem is that now everyone's going to, especially sysadmins, are going to have to relearn all over again how to get access to everything, because majority of the system administrators that I work with still use the control panel.
Yep. Yeah. You're right.
Don't get rid of it. It's so in depth. I get that it's antiquated by a UI perspective and from a design perspective, or from a design / usability perspective under new Windows 10 guidelines, but it's still the most functional piece that you could possibly have, and you're just going to get rid of it.
Well, for one, I think they shot themselves in the foot because they I don't remember ever having to access settings on a Windows machine. I've been on a Windows machine since I was in elementary school. And it wasn't until this new laptop that I'm recording on that I've actually had to dive into the settings to figure some things out because it's not on control panel.
Right.
And I think they shot themselves in the foot entirely when they started doing that. Like, you've now split up where the user has to go just to do basic functions like you're discussing, right? Like, you have to figure out, even on a Mac, which I had used off and on over the years, I could still figure out where to go from like a basic usability standpoint of, I go over here to these settings to change things. When it came to Windows 10 and every update they add to it, I have to constantly Google to make sure I'm looking in the right spot, or use this search feature in the computer, which is dumb to me.
Right.
I don't necessarily care if you want to get rid of it or redesign it. Redesign it seems like a much more logical choice. Yeah. You can even call it settings. Yeah. But like, getting rid of the entire control panel that so many systems like you're talking about sysadmins use, and all these other people who like for decades have used and will continue to use, because Windows are almost always cheaper than any freaking Apple product you can buy for your enterprise. Yeah. So like, why?
I mean, so do you want to know? I mean, the biggest kicker, and easily my favorite piece is, and I just happen to open up settings just to click through some things, just to maybe update myself, just because I try to avoid using this setting screen as much as possible. Did you know that I don't know, I'd probably listed it maybe a third, if not half, of the links that are inside the setting screen open up the control panel?
Listen, man, that's just bad UI design, though. You just gotta.
Oh, hey, I want to change adapter options. One of the big bright links inside the networking tool. Hey, it opens the network connection screen inside the control panel. I just don't understand their plan here. Like, I mean, if they're going to completely expand out the setting screen and make it more comprehensive, sure. My thing is that the control panel up to this point has been very much a no frills, straight to the business. Like, you want to change settings, this is where you do it. Yeah. I understand the push to a setting screen to do something that's more user-friendly for the majority of people, because a lot of people are terrified to go into control panel, sometimes because it sounds like, you're firing nukes or something. So if you have a settings screen to do some of the more innocuous stuff, maybe, like if you're, changing your screen timeout, if you're adjusting your mouse sensitivity, you're changing your keyboard language, you're adding phone connectivity, you're doing whatever, like some of the more, what I would say, user-ish things about this, disabling Cortana search stuff, time and language, things that normal people would be doing. I would say leave that there. But if you're going to have the control panel and make it a more advanced thing, or call it an advanced panel or something like that, leave the control panel where it is and let the guys like me who, like, I've got manually assigned IP addresses here, and that's a pain in the butt to do through the settings panel, because you can't do simple things as far as like manually setting DNS but leaving the IP address at automatic or something like that. Yeah. It's stuff to me that I know because I've done it so many times through the control panel, and I know it's a no frills to the point kind of interface to me, and it works. It's always worked consistently. I've never had any bugs or anything, and never run across any issues with it. It just works. To me, leaving the control panel for the advanced stuff, leave that. Settings, make that, but cause a divide between them. Don't put all of your networking stuff, or some of the advanced networking stuff, and some of the easy stuff. And all the easy stuff, in the settings panel. Just easy stuff, advanced stuff, two separate applications. I'd agree with that, but that's about it.
They need to unify that regardless, because it's just a clusterfuck for any user who's trying to do something with it. But if that's the case, why get rid of control panel in general? Like, the name alone, I think, carries enough. Like, it's weird to say it carries weight, but it does, right? If you're talking about a Windows machine, you say control panel, almost everyone knows what you're talking about, even from like the most inept user of these machines. They understand that the control panel is where you go to change things in the machine. Right. Like, again, just take your settings menu, fold it into control panel, and then make it, whenever you click settings, that's where it goes. Done.
Well, so not even. I don't even. Like I said, if they want to go for an easy user interface, whatever, keep this current setting screen, or redesign the UI so that the control panel becomes this new UI base that you're making
whatever
settings
you want to call it,
and then just continue to call it settings. Just add all the advanced stuff in there. Just put it in an advanced section or something that's a little bit more difficult to get to. I'm cool with that too, but make it work. Make it work like the old one did. Then I'll be comfortable with it.
Do they feel like this is going to be easier for idiots like me?
I don't know, because the problem is they haven't really given an excuse other than that it doesn't fit the UI paradigm. Is that the only thing they're saying?
That's my understanding. Yeah. Let me see if there's anything else. But I didn't like as far as I've read, I haven't seen anything that indicates it's any other reason, or that they're, I guess, just like the whole idea of, oh well, it has been around for 35 years, kind of thing. Well, one, isn't
that crazy to think about?
It's a massive change when something that seems so small and insignificant, but it really isn't. Like, people are going to have to relearn how to use a computer now.
Well, it's just crazy to think 35 years.
Yeah. Longer than we were born.
Yeah.
25 years? Are we bad at math?
No, it said 35 on the...
It said 1985?
Article.
1985. I'm sorry. I thought you said 1995. Okay,
originally, that was he said 98, and I was like, well, at least 95. Okay. And then I looked at it, and it was like, well, it's actually 35-year anniversary.
Okay. That makes way more sense. I was like, man, are we just not understanding how math works? Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, like, they are moving some key features over, I guess. Like their system information, for example, is one thing that came up in the last update, but yeah, they're like the official statement was that they're working on bringing capabilities from control panel forward into settings. But my thing is that some of the settings that they've already moved over just still don't. Like I said, with the network connection issue. I mean, just I guess to talk through it and like hell, I could even show you guys real quick, even what I'm talking about. If I wanted to like go into my network settings here and try to do something as simple as change my DNS servers, but not change my IP address manually. Okay, well, I got to click the edit button here. I got to select manual, but then I select that I want to enable this for IPv4, but it asks me for everything. Now, now I know because when I've edited this, if I just type in a DNS server, it sets the rest of it to automatic.
Yeah.
But the control panel lets you say, oh, I want to set an IP address manually, or I want to set DNS manually. One or the other, and with some restricting there, of course. But like, I don't know. It seems like something that they really need to make the stuff that they bring over here work correctly first, or work more intuitively, rather than just slapping things over here because they need to bring things into the modern era, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me what you're describing. So, I guess we'll see what they do with it. Like,
I mean, to see exactly how people receive it, but
yeah, again, it seems like such a small thing to ditch, but at the same time, it has been impactful. So, excuse me, let us know what you think, and hopefully Mark shares his little demo on our video. What you think about the removal of the control panel? Do you like having no control over your Windows machine? Tell us in the comments floating above Mark, but the description floating below John. Just John under the video. I'm sure you'll see. It's very odd.
I really want YouTube to just crop it to like the left side of the screen there.
Also, we need to discuss before we move on to the next topic that John apparently has sponsors on the show because he's wearing a Bud Light shirt.
I got a Yingling poster behind me. You gotta get this poster behind you.
You're drinking like a blue can, so it looks like you're drinking Bud Light.
Nope, I'm propping up a different one.
I know, it's just funny because I looked over, I was like, oh my God, did he get sponsors?
No, this was supposed to be my go outside and do yard work clothes, and then plans changed.
Yeah. Moses called forth the ark or something.
And I looked at my shirt and I was like, that's festive enough for this podcast.
Now that I've sold all the Christians watching the show, it's time to move on to the next topic. John, we have some really terrible news that involves a fighting game tournament known as EVO. Talk to us.
Yeah, unfortunately, EVO Online has been officially canceled following decisions by multiple developers to pull their games due to sexual allegations from the CEO of EVO Online. So just to give you a kind of like quick overview, there was some Twitter allegations that came in about CEO Joey Mr. Wizard Cellular. I don't know where Mr. Wizard came from. Was he like a pinball wizard or something?
Suelar?
Suelar.
I don't know.
Cellular.
Suellar? It's not cellular.
I know, it's not cellular.
It's Cuellar.
He's a co-founder and CEO of the organization. But
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat, NetherRealm Studios pulled out. Street Fighter also pulled out, and after that, it was like a cataclysm of other games just started going out. The
Capcom pulled games.
Yeah.
I cannot like Capcom pulling Street Fighter 5 is such a huge deal.
Oh yeah, and not to mention, I mean, this is their exact quote. In light of recent accusations of misconduct made against EVO organizer Joey Cuellar, Capcom will no longer be participating in EVO 2020. Our respect out to those who have been affected and to the current investigation. We felt that this was the appropriate course of action. We apologize to players and fans who are looking forward to these tournaments. And it really is like these people, there's a lot of people that wait all year for these tournaments.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
There was supposed to be a game released by Main 6. It was called Them's Fighting Herds. It was a My Little Pony inspired fighting game that was pulled back. Bandai Namco also joined the list that same day. That's Tekken 7, Dragon Ball Fighter Z, Soul Calibur 6, no longer a part of this event.
Yeah,
and that is, I mean, that's huge for people who are into these events.
Yeah, I mean, and
go ahead.
I was just going to say, just to emphasize the impact of all this, like the timeline starts. This Kotaku article was on Thursday at 7:40 p.m. They released the initial story of Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and others withdrawing. They updated at 8:30 talking about them fighting herds and other games. They update again at 8:51 talking about Bandai Namco leaving. And at 9:25, all on the same day, they talk about how Evo has
24 hours.
Yeah, they released a statement. It wasn't even within 24 hours. It was literally that day.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking the span of less than 2 hours. Evo comes out and says, by the way, we're dethroning the CEO and we're replacing him with somebody else.
Yep.
Let's
see here. They released a statement. They're replacing Cellular CEO with a fellow co-founder, Tony Ponder Cannon. What's up with these nicknames? And to cancel Evo Online entirely. So their response by quote is, over the past 24 hours in response to serious allegations made by public on Twitter, we have made the first of a series of important decisions regarding the future of our company. A spokesperson for Evo told Kotaku via email, effectively immediately, Joey Cellular will no longer be involved with the Evo in any capacity. And we are currently working towards his complete separation from the company and have relieved him of all of his responsibilities. And going forward, Tony Cannon will act as CEO, and he will take the leadership role, prioritizing greater accountability across Evo, both internally and at our events. And then they also come out and say progress doesn't happen overnight, which a lot of people have been saying. But the part that a lot of people are actually kind of upset about is they feel like these were just allegations. There was there was no trial. There was nothing to state whether this person was actually guilty or not. It was just Twitter allegations that came out. And like you said, so quickly, they instantaneously did all this. And I'm like, I think regardless, I mean, with the event being so close, no one wants to touch this. And regardless of what you feel like, if it was too fast or not, they were going to separate whatever they had to in order to save this organization. Yep. So, I mean, I see what happened and why they did what they did. To go on, they also said that they will be giving out refunds to anybody who ordered passes, and will also be donating the equivalent to the passes bought to Project Hope. Which
okay, that's good.
It is a good thing. I don't feel like the company is necessarily at fault. I haven't heard about any allegations of their fault in what happened. It was just him personally, but also there hasn't been much of an investigation for us to kind of realize that or not.
Well, I think this is interesting because we're seeing something similar play out in Ubisoft. Not the exact same thing, but there's tons of allegations coming towards one specific studio. Multiple studios overall under the Ubisoft umbrella, but specifically Ubisoft Montreal, which you'll see in our weekly reading. It's down there. There's a wonderful article about it. And they're discussing the fact that so much of this comes from the company culture and allowing it to happen. So the fact that these people at Evo, the people who are left behind after removing the CEO, are trying to prove themselves, I guess, worthy in the public eye, like really trying to showcase like, hey, we mean what we're saying. We're literally going to give away the money we take in this year. And as we've discussed with these events, like they expect year over year revenue to survive.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying this will end Evo, but I mean, they're very serious in this instance in saying, listen, financially, we're going to take the hit and put out goodwill because of the fact that somehow we allowed this to happen. This shouldn't have gotten this far.
Well, I also
And
have to wonder exactly for them to take this action, what do they know that they haven't said?
Well, and that's another
this was
question. Yeah.
very much like bam, 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 bam. And it was like, what? Did someone have video? Like,
Yeah.
It was a little weird. Even,
it is
even
really
for company standards.
It's funny to watch people like come to the defense, right? Of like, well, this is just Twitter allegations, all that. I'm like, yeah, but there's something the company knows, or else they wouldn't remove them, right? We've seen instances
that quick.
before where they're like, no, we stand by said person until it really gets to the nitty gritty, and then they remove them
Ubisoft did the
anyways.
same thing. I mean, they did it much slower. Obviously, said we have an internal
Yeah.
investigation. They did their investigation. They came out and
they
said, we're changing these things. This is what our intentions are. These people have been removed, and
Yep.
this is what's going on. They don't say they believe one person over the other because that's dumb. You don't do that until you do an investigation. And
Yep.
they did their due diligence, and they took action. Here it seems like they did the same thing. They were just able to do it much, much faster, which is super weird. It's almost
Well-
like they literally went into his office and they just literally caught him with kitty porn.
It's like, oh, we found the pictures.
Well,
no,
what do you got to say about that?
he's like, I'm guilty. I'll leave now. I'll just walk out the door. Good God, take the panties off. No, I do think that I think the skepticism on both sides is correct here, right? Like, I understand the idea of people who are afraid these allegations are getting out of hand. Now, I am in no way trying to not advocate for victims. We have done that plenty of times in the show. I stand by the victims of this incident.
Yeah.
But to not see the other side in the sense of like how scary this can get is naive, right? Because these victims have been on that other side just internally in their company where they have cried for help and have just been totally ignored.
It's not even just that. These are players that are underage that these allegations come from. And it's not just him. There was multiple allegations from other people from Smash tournaments I was hearing about where the problem is when you have a predatory environment that's easy to manipulate situations like that, and you have kids running around, parents don't want to give too much oversight. They want to give these kids their space because they don't want to be mommy on top of everybody, and then something happens, and then all of a sudden it's a big deal.
Not only that, you trust these organizations to take care of your children, right?
No
like the
different
whole
than
reason
the gymnastics with USA Gymnastics. I mean, that was catastrophic in trust. I mean, this is an Olympic level sport that these girls are competing on, and their parents trusted these individuals to take care of their children, and instead they got molested.
Now, the hope would be, because Evo is acting so quickly, is that they are trying to rectify the situation as fast as possible. Because again, like, they live and die by this, and giving up not only your income, but also trying to reconfigure your organization, figuring out what you're going to do next while also maintaining safety for your players is fucking paramount for their survival.
Yeah.
Well, I do need to say that people need to be careful, because there have been instances where there are false allegations in situations, or
100%.
I would say that there was proven to be less of a serious situation than what was described.
100%.
But in this instance, that's not the case. These are underage kids. These are events, and I think they had the evidence they needed to make
exactly. You know, Evo as an organization is allowed to do whatever they want. They have a board. They make these decisions. They decide whether or not to keep the CEO. Just like Ubisoft is an organization, they make these decisions internally. Social pressure does matter. It creates change. You know, people coming out and talking about these allegations, like talking about the actual their own victimization, their situations, and being vocal about it will help other people carry their voices to those companies so they can make those decisions. But the company overall is the one who makes it. Nobody is putting a gun to Evo's head. Evo's deciding for themselves. Now, sure, they're deciding because they don't want to look bad in the public, but they are the ones who can sit there and go, no, we're going to hold on to it. We're going to do an internal investigation. We'll figure it out from there and then come out. But they made this decision to act quickly. more than likely the evidence was there.
This is a great thing, though. I mean, all these companies are like, no, we have a zero tolerance policy at all. You better not even like pull a toothpick out without it covering your ass. I mean, the beautiful part is also, some of the statements that were sent out. For instance, Bandai Namco Entertainment came out and said, "We stand in solidarity with the individuals who have spoken out against abuse with the fighting game community. We thank our fans for their continued support." Like, they understand that their fans are going to be in support of what's going on, and they're like, "We don't want to have anything to do with this." It's like, okay, fine. I'm good with it.
Yep. I mean, I'm with you. Like, there's so much pain that's happened over the past couple of weeks. We've talked about it last week. It was our major topic of the show. It's coming back up this week. But like the beauty of these situations is that with enough support and people out there to help one another, like, we can move through this. And it sounds corny and cheesy, and I get it, but like, if there's pain and suffering, you have to talk about it to get it out there so everyone knows. Once everyone knows, we work through it together. We communicate, we support one another, and then we hold the companies accountable. When the companies are held accountable, they work to make those changes happen. Like, it's a process. And Evo is right in their statement, which also sounds corny and cheesy. It doesn't happen overnight. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that you can't do anything about it. Like, it has to happen.
Yep. It just seems like I'm hearing that a lot, which is why I looked over and I was like, I mean, the quote's there. If you guys want to read it, you can look at the Kotaku article that we have set there for you in the description below.
Above, around. Technically, it's not a Google Doc. The link is in the description somewhere. We don't really know where, but it's somewhere. It's hidden like a weasel.
It's very much, lawyer speak and all that. And it's, whether or not they actually care is going to be sought with action, which they seem to be doing. So,
I agree. Any other last words before we move on to our final topic of the show?
People who touch kids are assholes. We will.
Yep.
I would argue worse than assholes.
And proper pronunciation of his name was Cuellar.
Cuellar.
It's that guy.
That guy.
That's all I gotta say.
I'll call him Cellular all day.
Cellular all day. Please let us know what you think about the Evo situation. Do you think they handled this accordingly? Do you think they overreacted? How do you feel about the allegations? Please let us know in the description above me, like an evil cloud.
Yeah. Again, the whole thing about, like opening dev tools and editing the description, then screenshot it and send it to us.
That joke will never get old for me, so I hope you're ready to listen to it for the next 5 years. Moving on to our final topic of the show is my topic, and I want to talk about what the hell is going on with Warner Brothers. So Warner Brothers is seemingly dropping a ton of divisions or weight, however you want to do it. It looks like they're selling off their Warner Bros. Interactive, which was rumored, but seemingly is gaining traction as companies such as Xbox, EA, and others are looking to buy Warner Bros. Interactive. And then Stargirl is going to CW. Stargirl, if you don't know, started on Warner Brothers' DC-only streaming app, DC Universe. DC Universe is supposed to be a one-stop shop where you could come and find all the movies, TV shows, everything about the DC Universe right then and there. They have shows such as Titan, Doom Patrol, Swamp Thing, all of these television shows that they had ran the first season of, including Stargirl. However, Stargirl, along with Swamp Thing, are moving to the CW. And not just moving to CW, they're going to be exclusively released on CW, meaning they won't be in the DC universe. Yeah. Titans, which is their like adult Titan show, has now started making its way onto other platforms. And then, of course, Doom Patrol, which was one of their major exclusives, is on HBO Max, actually titled as an HBO Max original. Making things even weirder. Now, the other big thing is that a ton of DC movies were on HBO Max. They were supposed to be leaving. They have recently stayed on. And as a matter of fact, they're actually introducing like director's cut versions. So like the theatrical cut of Batman v Superman, it's gone. It's now the director's cut of it. They're doing the Snyder cut of whatchamacallit. And it's supposed to be coming to HBO Justice League. Thank you. That was my own brain. I was thinking myself, don't worry, guys. And it is coming to HBO Max, not DC Universe. So with all of this shakeup, what is going on with WB? Like, I mean, we're talking about selling off Rocksteady, which to me is the gangbuster. But NetherRealm Studio, Avalanche Software, Monolith Production. Avalanche is making the brand new Harry Potter game that's rumored to be out there. Monolith had made all of the the Max Payne games, a couple other games. I'm thinking Just Cause, but that's wrong. They made the Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War games, NetherRealm, Mortal Kombat. You're gonna sell Mortal Kombat Studio? Like Telltale Games, not Telltale, TT Games is apparently what they're called now. I don't know what they were originally.
I don't either.
Traveler's Tales games. Makes all the Lego games. Like these are properties that, as far as I understand, make money. And they're selling them. What is happening with at&t? Because that's the parent company of Warner Brothers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're a big company, so they end up either taking bigger risks and they end up having bigger debts. They deal in the billions of dollars, and we can only fathom what those numbers look like. And in a time where you would think that people would be utilizing their services more, paying for them more, and having to stay in because of the pandemic, people would be investing more into those services than others. It could be that a lot of people just turn them off because they can't afford it because they don't have jobs. And so therefore they are just bleeding money.
Yeah.
Also, they probably made a couple bad bets. I mean, we're talking about how a bunch of stuff is moving over to the CW, and that's because it wasn't successful. And the CW is just a better platform for those to exist.
Yeah, so it's super interesting here because one, if you were to ask me, if I were a betting man and you were to come up to me and be, hey, we're going to make a streaming platform for DC only content, I would tell you no, and then swat you on the nose like a bad puppy because that makes no sense. Like, don't get me wrong, Batman, Superman, they're strong, but to carry a platform,
no,
it makes no sense. Now, you want to bundle those into some nice deals to sell to Netflix, Amazon, whomever, that sounds great. Hell yeah.
Well, so I didn't realize this. I guess at first I started looking more at Warner Brothers. I didn't realize the CW was owned by Warner Brothers.
Which is fascinating because they separate those divisions out. Yes.
Yeah.
So they separate the divisions out because CW has to purchase that from the Warner Brothers Interactive, or I guess the DC universe. Like they're internal.
Though, I mean,
money switches hands, but it's in the same globe.
My point would be, though, that they're pulling money away from the DC Universe app entirely. Whatever that production studio is, they're pulling it and putting it into other pockets.
Right.
Even internally, it's still removing itself from there. Again,
it talks about at&t needing to consolidate a $154 billion debt, whereas the value of WB Interactive is only $4 billion. So my question is, what's the next part that they need in order to make up for the rest of the money that they need to pay off?
Well, and it
where
seems
did this
like
debt come from? That is no small amount of money.
So it looks like at&t purchased Time Warner for $109 billion in 2018, which is what resulted in most of that debt.
Okay.
So
I mean, there's still like $40 billion. I mean, that's a lot.
They're trying to turn a profit back on it.
Yeah, investors are calling for the telecommunications company to sell non-core assets such as DirecTV and WB Interactive.
I don't know who's going to want to buy DirecTV, to be honest.
And see, I could see DirecTV going just like they had great service at one time, I think, but they kind of fell off the horse by a long shot just because landline communications are still going to be better.
Well, no, I mean, you have to realize that there's a lot of the country that still doesn't have access to those communications. DirecTV is their only choice.
Not necessarily, because there's also Dish Network, which is what has become a main competitor for DirecTV, and honestly, from what I can tell, does a better job.
I meant the Dish.
Yeah,
part of their business was the only
way
option for them to get to them.
The way that had been described to me is that DirecTV did a good job of marketing and doing a great job of looking good with a rebrand 100%. And everything else, and putting together slightly better software than you get out of your at&t Uverse boxes, but for example, but you don't get all the features. And Dish, instead of spending the money on all of that, decided, we're just going to spend everything on a user experience. Well, that's what people want. It's weird. It's weird how that works, you know?
Yeah, it's weird how that works. What's interesting to me is that for the Warner Brothers Interactive, we discussed this offline, but I want to point this out here, is that if they sell these, and again, Activision, EA, Take-Two, and Microsoft are all apparently looking at this.
Yeah.
Not only do they get these studios, but they would get some of the properties, not all of the properties. So anything related to DC or Lego would not go with these studios. Very,
would Mortal
very
Kombat
important.
stay with NetherRealm, or would they sell that off?
Mortal Kombat would go with NetherRealm.
Okay.
Harry Potter would also stay with WB. It would not go with these studios. So they can negotiate some of the licenses, but anything based on DC Comics or any other Warner Brothers characters will not go.
So basically what they're looking to get is they want some serious... The only people that make sense that I could see really wanting to pump out this kind of money for those studios would be Microsoft at this point. They have deeper pockets for that, and they have been buying up developers recently, with especially Ninja Theory, which I'm so still upset about. So I could definitely see Microsoft really getting serious about the bidding process, though there are some really deep pockets with 2K that they would have to compete with. So.
I mean, honestly, Take-Two, EA, and Activision all have deep pockets. Microsoft very obviously has the deepest pockets. However, they still do have a limit as to what they want to sell, what they want to spend. And I think the bigger issue here is, do you want to purchase all of these studios? Because Avalanche and Monolith are great, but I don't think of them as gangbuster game developers. I loved Shadow of Mordor, but same with Traveler's Tales. Like, I think the Lego games are great, but do you really want to purchase those studios when you're really just trying to go for one? Like NetherRealm, 100%. Mortal Kombat carries so much cachet out there. Like, you 100% want Mortal Kombat as an exclusive product, or even better, selling it on every platform and making bank off of it.
If you could make that an exclusive product on Microsoft, that would sell consoles. But I also feel like, I mean, would they divvy this up? Would they want to be left with a couple of stragglers who are going to want to sell this all at once?
No, that's my point, though. Like, someone like Microsoft may not want this many studios because they just made a purchase of a handful of them. We're talking about, it's more than that, but we know Double Fine, Obsidian, Ninja Theory, like those are the high profile ones.
Yeah.
And they bought others after that. But do you want to bring in 5 others? Whereas EA or Activision, like, their whole thing is that they're just game publishers, and they put them on multiple platforms. They're willing to put that money out there because they don't care what platform it lands on. They just want games.
If Microsoft had a huge, like, stupid, ambitious goal that we're not privy of right now, and they were like, we're going to need some serious talent. Go ahead and get everything that you need. This thing that we're going to be making is going to be worth billions of dollars. Then, yeah, they'll probably end up forking over the cash to try to make a profit.
Yeah.
But I mean, unless you were going to get, Rocksteady making games like Batman that you want to make the money off of, there's no reason to do that. You could poach these people and wait for them to need a job, and they'll go out looking for one.
Well, and I think it's very interesting to note the one major name in gaming that's absent here is Sony. Like, Sony is not getting anywhere near this. And I think it has to do with the fact that they would miss out on those properties along with those developers. Again, not that they're not talented developers. They have plenty of talent. They've proven it over and over again.
Yep.
All of these studios are solid studios. But do you want to purchase 5 studios? Sony has already closed down 2 in the past 3 years.
You'll see Sony picking up more after the release of PS5. Because they're going to need that money flow in order to put out that kind of cash to make their investors okay with, hey, PS5 is doing well. Let's start investing into these property. We got a lot of people over here that we think we could make some money off of. Yeah, that would make sense. But they just got done buying Insomniac Games, which was probably not cheap. But I mean,
did they buy Camouflage? I swear they did, right?
I think so.
I had a dream or something where that happened, and I can't find a news article to rectify or let me know that, and it's driving me nuts. Yeah, there's just a ton of articles about how they've partnered with them, but I swear they bought them. It doesn't matter. No, but I think Sony's very different in the sense that they are meticulous, right? Like, I truly believe that Sony will buy Blue Point games before they buy anything on this WB, because they're not going to want the bundle. Like, you don't want to purchase this large share of studios because it comes with all of the debt. And I'm not talking about direct debt. Like, I'm not saying that Rocksteady has debt and Traveler's Tale, but like, you're taking on 5 studios worth of salaries Like, you don't want that right away. You want to be able to build that out, however that may be. So I think personally, Activision, EA, Take-Two, 2K, like any of these large companies that have huge investment firms behind them or large bank behind them makes perfect sense. But I truly don't think Microsoft or Sony are going to touch this.
Ooh.
Okay.
Did find something interesting though. Sony is considering a bid for Warframe and Brink developers.
Yes, so that's the other thing too. Is there's tons of rumors right now about Sony picking up. Oh my God, who is it? Who makes Warframe?
Layu Technologies.
What?
Call it holding company Layu Technologies, which owns Warframe developer
Digital Extremes.
Digital Extremes, yeah.
There we go. I was like, I know it's something weird.
Don't ever see
But again,
that
like,
before.
Bluepoint makes sense. Digital Extremes makes sense. I think some of these smaller studios that are arguably double A tier, right? Like, they're successful. They have their own stuff going on.
$1.23 billion bid has been tabled for right now on that.
I mean, Sony has worked with Bluepoint Games since the PS3 era, and Bluepoint has released a ton of games for for multiple platforms, but they have released so many exclusive PS3. If I'm looking right now at the Wikipedia, right, that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games for Bluepoint. Of those 11 games, one is multi-platform, one is Xbox 360 exclusive. The rest are on Sony platforms. Like, they do nothing but work with Sony. So Sony purchasing them would make perfect sense. The WB deal just doesn't.
No.
As much as I love Rocksteady, I love Rocksteady games in their
If they're
games.
about to spend $1.23 billion, they're not going to be like, hey, let me grab an extra 4 out of my back pocket for these guys.
100%. 100%. So
No, they're not going to be involved.
I really hope that wherever they end up, these studios end up with people who will take care of them. It is always a gamble, and this is the unfortunate part of working for a large corporation, is that you really just don't know where your division will end up. Yep. Regardless, there's plenty of talented people. They will end up somewhere safe, somewhere happy. You know, that's all we can hope for. But if Xbox gets them, you'll hear it from us. Trust me, that is going to be a long conversation. But let us know what you think about the WB in general. What's going on with Warner Brothers? I mean, at&t, obviously, they're trying to sell off some stuff, but do you think that we're losing out?
It's at&t being at&t. That's just, that's what they do, you know?
It's dumb.
They screw over their employees, they screw over their customers, but they still make money somehow. So, you know. It's
of course. That's how that works. It's almost like they have a monopoly.
Spectrum.
Yeah, but just because it's like the lesser of two evil. It's the same argument for the 2016 election. Well, you know, it's the lesser of two evil. Fuck off. They all suck.
Still need internet.
Everybody sucks.
Let us know what you think about WB Interactive and also the DC Universe app. Are you sad? Do you think it's going away? Do you enjoy it? Let us know in the comments floating above Mark as he takes a nice
I'll
big
let you know when there's a
below.
good DC movie. Ooh.
Oh, Wonder Woman was pretty good. Moving on to Last Call. Last call. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. We still don't have a bell sound. It sucks. Of course, we are separated in our own humble abodes, recording from afar, drinking our separate drinks. I have a seltzer water and vodka with a little bit of lime, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit because it's light, it's refreshing, it's warm in my room at the moment. I've been trying to keep the fan off to keep the levels nice. Not working well for Brent, but this is the one with the vodka, sweetie.
I don't believe you. I think you've been drinking out of that tiki cup, but it's been like water, and we're all here getting drunk, and you're just like,
Yeah, because that's what alcoholics do.
Yep.
What are you drinking, John?
I'm drinking OMB, Hornet's Nest. It's a Hefeweizen. Beautiful. Enjoy it.
It's very German of you.
Hornet's Nest.
Hefeweizen. What about you, Dispatcher?
I'm drinking me some Voodoo Ranger IPA.
Ugh.
Some
IPA.
good old Voodoo Ranger. I do love good IPA. I also have some Negro Modelo's downstairs. Oh,
Ooh, those are good.
love
Those are
Negro
good.
Modelo. Yep.
IPA is short for IPA for those who can't figure that
Short.
out. Of course, we do have a couple shout outs this week. You can join us on our Discord where we are continuing to have more and more people. That's also a great spot to figure out any sorts of releases we have on the Strange Gaming Network. We have updates there. If you are not paying attention to YouTube and you don't want those kinds of notifications, we do have live streams for all of our streamers. You can connect with them in there. And of course, just general conversation, or you're looking to play a game with a friend. Even if you don't have friends in there now, they will be your friends by the end of this week if you join. I know this releases on Friday, but you know. We also have our weekly reading, one of which is involving the Ubisoft Montreal employees. We were discussing this earlier when we talked about Evo. This is a very in-depth look with tons of interviews. It is grueling to read, but it is well worth the read to understand the situation. If you at all have any anger, frustration on either side of this situation, if you think that the allegations are going too far and getting people fired for no good reason, or you believe these people are victims, you should read this, hands down, because you get their insight from them as best as you can possibly get it through an interview. So I have another wonderful article that's very different than our normal, which discusses why games should make creating as satisfying as destroying. And I agree with this because I think that most games are about destruction. Of course, conflict is what drives plot and is interesting, but I also stand by the fact that making creation satisfying as blowing shit up would be very interesting, and also raises a challenging, opportunity for developers looking for a challenge. So check it out. Then, of course, we have our cool ass shit. I found a wonderful editor who is transforming 2D games into 2.5D. So he's taking things like Zelda and Mario, running them through his own emulation software, and then handcrafting all of like the rough edges to be this 2.5D version of those NES games. And it's super cool.
To clarify, when you say 2.5D, you mean like 3D, but in a 2D space, still like being 2D platformer?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. It's still incredibly cool.
It's so cool.
It's not a tool that can just be slapped onto something. Like, it requires someone to smooth out the roughness, but very, very interesting. Take a look at it. There's some really cool videos. And finally, our question of the week on this short episode starting July off. What is one of your favorite summer activities? I felt like we're getting really heavy recently with the question, so I want to go a little light.
Okay.
So I've got a couple.
Going to the beach is always a good time, especially during the pandemic. It's rubbing all over everybody
with a bunch of other people there. You just want to be right next to them, breathe on them. Hopefully not wearing a mask, because who needs a mask? This is America, freedom.
I mean,
can't wear a mask in the ocean. Come on.
School's out for the summer, right? Now it's like I still have to work through the summer. Most of the time, the summers are reserved for me for they're normally free because everybody takes vacations at different times during the summer, and so it's usually that's my family time outside of Christmas and Thanksgiving, and I end up spending time with my family somewhere in there.
Okay. That's good. I love swimming. I don't know if I've talked about it on the show. I'm sure I have. I love swimming. I literally have been to places or pools where people are like, hey, you should come over and swim. And I'm the last person out of the pool. It's like, Britt, you've been here since 12. It's 9 p.m. What are you doing? I'm like, you don't understand. The water feels great.
Staying at Brett's place, drinking all of his tequila, and we're in the pool until 1 a.m.
100%. I could live in the water. I think I truly could. All those underwater homes where people are like, that's crazy. Why would you do that? Yeah, but I could then just go in the deep pressurization capsule, go, psh, whew, I'm swimming. I'm ready.
Some article comes out about, doctors now being able to attach us with gills, and Brent's first.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You better believe it. 100%. Yeah. I love swimming. I love watermelon. Summer is my time. Ironically enough, because I hate the heat. It's 90 degrees on average in Charlotte right now, and that's just too hot for me. The other day I was looking at my wife, I was like,
humidity wasn't so high.
Yeah. It's just bad. I looked at my wife and I was like, I'm bumping up the AC. Or bumping down the AC.
The heat and the humidity aren't that bad for me. I used to live in South Florida. I got very much used to that very fast.
Yeah.
So I actually enjoy the heat.
People live there, so they don't count.
The funny part is, in all of the times, or in all the time that I lived there, I think over 3 years, I think I can count on maybe 2 hands, maybe 1 foot included in there, the number of times I actually went to the beach when I lived there.
Swamp person.
It's mostly because it's littered with glass and used condoms.
He didn't live in Daytona.
It depends on what beach you're going to.
Fort Lauderdale, Daytona, anywhere near the
Fort
ocean.
Lauderdale's old people, dude.
Fort Lauderdale is the grossest
I think you'd be
place
surprised.
I've ever been.
Depends on what part of Fort Lauderdale.
Fair enough.
Let's put it this
But,
way. I drove from Fort Lauderdale to Alabama, and there was very little difference except for the buildings.
So you're saying there's a lot of people sleeping with their cousins. Got it. Go ahead, Mark. What's your favorite thing about summer?
Oh god, that was bad. I think easily my favorite summer activities. Like I enjoy a good pool. I don't really enjoy the beach that much. Just I don't know, something kicks the OCD in me. I guess with sand between my toes, that kind of thing. When my feet are wet.
You're just
Like, I
Anakin
can do
Skywalker.
sand.
You're like, I hate sand. It's coarse.
At least when I come back from the beach, my nails look like they've been manicured.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I'm with you, Brent. I enjoy the pool. Like if I could have a decent pool space or something like that at a house where like it's lit, you have nighttime activity to do, or a hot tub. I love a hot tub.
Who don't?
Love a good hot tub.
That's where all the good porns are made.
Easily my favorite thing.
Whoa.
So like during the summertime, sometimes like my friends and I had made a habit for the last 2 years or 3 years to rent a place like Airbnb or something like that up in the mountains. We always got a place with a hot tub, so we could have a decent view, that kind of thing. But we always set up the hookah or did cigars and had beer or liquor and everything ready to go. So like we'd spend a day, we'd go out to the mountains. We for those of us with motorcycles, sometimes we'd go ride, and then we'd come back, we'd grill out, we'd do hot dogs, we'd do burgers, we'd do steaks. We'd set up the hookah, we'd set up cigar, light the cigars and just hang out and chill for the evening.
That's our spring and fall.
Yeah.
So,
I must say, that's usually fall for me, but I'm a fan.
No, so the best one I had, and my mom and my stepdad used to have a trailer up in the mountains. And it was perfect because it was right on one of the roads that we used to go ride on. So we just ride up for the weekend, that kind of thing, load up, we'd go shopping, bring all the food with us, and then just go ride and rip shit basically for, an entire day for the 2 days, basically, or the 2 full days that we were up there, and then grill out, smoke hookahs, smoke cigars, and drink for the evenings. It was awesome. I miss it.
Sounds like a time, my man.
Yeah.
That does sound amazing. Please let us know what your favorite summer activities are in the comments floating directly in the middle of this video. It's really weird. I don't know why they put it right
guys,
there.
okay?
They put it right there. Also,
barrel.
I wanted to mention, because I totally forgot to in our shout out section of the Labs Call, that we are starting to experiment a little bit with our video content. So we realize these videos are long. We tend to go long. Believe it or not, this is the shorter version of what we originally did. If you want to go find those, you can. But we also understand that there's usually one topic we spend the most time on every week. So we are calling that our top shelf selection. You'll be able to find that in a separate video each week, hopefully earlier than the actual full video, so that you can get it within your teeth, munch on it and enjoy it. And if you don't have time for the full episode, you can at least give us a like and leave a comment in the description below. But until next time, cheers.
Cheers. Oh, baby.
Oh, baby.
Oh, baby.